Common data elements, part 4 of 4. My name again is John Walter McKeeby, reviewing common data elements. So NIH has a common data element task force. It's a trans NIH community of practice. It includes governance subcommittee. The primary charge is to decide whether common data elements submitted to them by NIH recognized bodies meet the criteria that should be identified for use in NIH funded research. Maintain NIH common data element repository, providing that central access point to data elements that have been recommended or required by NIH institutes and centers for use in research and for other purposes. So it is a repository. It has all the NIH common data elements. It shares the NINDS common data elements. So there is the disease-focused common data elements. The NIH Common Data Elements repository was launched in 2015. It provides access to the structured human and machine readable definitions of data elements that we recommend, and in some cases are required by NIH ICs for clinical research use. It was identified as part of NLM's strategic plan to identify common data elements and facilitating the repository, expanding the repository. NIH encourages researchers to use common data elements to improve accuracy, consistency, and interoperability among data sets within various areas of health and disease research. Cross disciplines and domains of common data elements, there's toolkits, there's toolboxes, there's different tools, and again, NINDS's disease-focused common data elements. And so there's a link to the common data element about page that has links to many other pages. There is a guide to the NIH common data element repository. The committee reviews submissions, endorses selections that meet meaningful criteria. The NIH endorsed common data elements published in the NIH Common Data Element Repository. It supports fair data sharing that we reviewed in part 1. It adheres to the FAIR principles as we reviewed in part 1. It provides high quality computational ready data with standardized vocabularies and readable metadata retrieved by identifiers. The governance committee reviews and approves collections of common data elements at the NIH. And again, a link of those guides. So searching the NIH Common Data Element Repository, it has the various collections, different institutes that provide data. You see NINDS, all their data is provided, the 1,200 and 427 common data elements that they have. It's available on their site, but also available in the NIH Common Data Element Repository. You can search across these similar to what we saw in NINDS. And so this reviews the search. You see the search bar, you see the data types you can search across, different values that you can search. You can see this is an example of formats for address, city name, county name, address line, what the standard is, and what the codes are for that value, and where it was used. Here's an example from NINR form questions. So it identifies the question. Being tired made it hard for me to play or go out with my friends as much as I liked. And then they identify what values in a different place for that question. And so that's an example of the Nursing Research Institute utilizing common data elements. NIH Common Data Element Repository Governance. The Governance Committee reviews and approves collections of common data elements. The NIH Scientific Data Council criteria for approval is clear definition of variable and measure with prompt and response. documented evidence of reliability and validity, human and machine readable format preferred, recommended design designated by a recognized NIH body, either an institute, center, or committee, and licensing and intellectual property status is clear. Is it open use, open source? Can it be used by everybody, or is there conditions in its use? A recommendation for the future. So this is a paper that we reviewed previously on reviewing data sharing plans, and it identifies common data element usage without using that term. And that's why it's important to review. It identifies that any data set or document made available for sharing should be associated with concise, publicly available, and consistently structured discovery metadata, describing not just the data object itself, but also how it can be accessed. This is to maximize its discoverability by both humans and machines. And this refers to common data elements. This refers to fair guidance. This refers to terminologies. And so it identifies having a metadata repository of all these items to make sharing across clinical research and sharing for other purposes to be efficient and effective.